Let me see. Hey, it's 1:15. In case you're wondering what this basically is made out of an old diving suit, and I can fully recommend it. It's just the end of the sleeve, line it up, cut the hole out. Phone doesn't break. Phone doesn't break. Phone doesn't break. You see? Simple, practical, half-hour work. Recycling. Use the gray cells. So how many pages should be left blank here? Empty, though full of suspicious suspense? Is there a continuum, a blooper selection, or a deleted paragraph collection? To satisfy both publisher, too long, too many words, and writer, they should be there as they are, and so at least add them postscript. And so, in such, are both totally unsatisfied in debating certain passages to be limp or afterbirth, vital or superfluous, expanding or overbearing, and so on and so forth, as the passage above might be deemed to be, though not obviously, as you can read it now. This is a bit of a heavy piece. Feminists are gonna hit my head over this one, but I don't give a fuck. The moment of red was upon them. Throughout the tribe, nests were left by the she-they, the two-holed ones, the women, the beasts of birth, the bearers of the dominant passion to be taken, the biters of necks and scratchers of backs, the cock-burning bitches, the heart-eating witches, the goddesses of herd, hunt, and cunt, the bringers and bearers of fruit, the keepers of the land of milk and honey, the mistresses of blood, birth, and death. And their drizzler-bearing hubbies lay in their grass and leaves piled bed and scratched their balls and felt their mate had gone from the nest. Except for those not feeling the rising moon pushing down through their empty wombs, but rather felt their bellies each day and night growing more rounded, like a moon that rises over 3 seasons. All retreated by night to the she-they cave, where drizzler-bearing two-leggeds weren't safe and just wouldn't go, and the smell of fires of different greens and wood mingled with red. The screams, shrieks, and orgastic wailing as they rolled, jumped, stumped, and ultimately penetrated each other's with fingers, fists, and rounded sticks to chase out the red demon of the fire and the rising sun and of birth, hurt, and death. Their faces, after they licked each other clean and baited, and then waded back through the shallow side river that like a flowing boundary and threshold encompassed the rocky land tongue on which their cave was secluded. All the visions the he-they gathered from the eyes of the she-they as they re-entered the they were plenty to keep them away. And in this time he and some of the he-they went on the boat, just to sit and be there. And he then re-envisioned the scaly non-leggers he'd caught and eaten, and so he put his face in the water, and in doing so, dislodged the boat from the bank. And they were afloat again, while him again, the other 3 first time, and freaking, and funnily staying on board in mesmerizing disbelief, the utter awe of being immersed in a new state of being and not wanting to be drowned in it, literally also in this case. Being on the water in a low-lying boat and waves towering and rolling all around. Shifting position from lying in the pit propped up halfway underneath the helm, with feet and shoulders bracing yourself, while the boat is rocking and rolling, to sitting up straight, exposed to bucket loads of spray per minute, on the sailor's bench looking over the white-capped rollers, jumping over each other, building up, breaking and sliding, creating platforms, tubes, peaks, and sinkholes. And you're there with sea-salt up your sinuses and down your butt crack, searching for buoys, markers, and other ships, land and beaches, with treacherous rocks and wrecks and breakwaters like outstretched fingers reaching to the sea, like stone hard-ons of giant sea lions, proudly protecting the abundance of bikini beauty stretched out on their sandy domain, bathing in self-awareness and vanity as they soak up the sun and the attention alike, The furtive looks and stolen glances at ties and bikini lies, at nipples piercing, at warm smiles and wavy hair, at perfect feet and angles, at glistening sweat on bellies and buttocks, at flushed faces and moist crotches. Checking for that one wave that decidedly pushes through the swell at a different angle and wreaks havoc and mayhem and runs you down into a hole. Boat shaking and shivering, then assuredly sturdily rising and rolling and casting off the water on its deck like a prancing storm cat, ready and with heavy tiller plunging through the next assault under two billowing handkerchiefs of sail. They didn't have sails yet back then in our dawn, but I wonder how long it took. Maybe watching a bird flip sideways in a curb while sitting by the water. Maybe the skins of deer and wolves, emus and fox, cows, buffaloes and mammoths stretched out to dry in the wind and taking flight, taking off across the clearing with the stretching poles like the first mast and boom, combined with feeling the wind pushing their backs as they were standing side by side on the trunk keel of their vessel, temporarily broken from its muddy union with the shore, unsure whether to clamber back or to wait and see what life had in store, what lay beyond, what would happen. Instinct often is a lazy lizard lying in our minds, baking in our heartbeat sun, shifting positions so fast it's unseen. And the wind pushed them onto the waters, and those on shore that they left behind gathered and shrieked and waved on the muddy bank. The they on the boat wouldn't go far, as the lazy lizard raised a cloud of neurons in man's brain, sending impulses shooting through his limbs, belly and drizzling, saying, grab that bowl, contract and don't shit, stay put and feed up the testosterone. Turn this vessel or you lose her, them, they all, everything, forever, to the great unknown depthless waters, drowning in your past as you might in some stormy distant future. Don't let it happen. Resolve this floating away and drifting apart. And as they squatted down, the wind no longer had him for a sail, and when he pushed them to the back and piled against the stump, their living boat heeled and turned, and he grabbed a pole and drove it into the riverbed. And by the time they got back, they had become the first captain and crew, now all four poling along, pushing the prime primitive barge homeward bound. And as the day that had returned rejoined the day that had remained, a splashing in the wicker-worked hull of branches and birds' nests announced a new discovery, the advent of the silent hunt into the water dimension, heralding seafood buffets and slaughter on the ocean, marine preservations and floating factories ring-netting at the size of a small town and sucking all aboard and into the grinder for fish balls and cat food. All simply started with a few fish stuck in the wooden and grass-helmed maze that was the first unintended net. He got one out with his fingers and he got away, and he got a bigger one by the gills and it tried but it couldn't. So the trick was taught through observance and repetition, now as then as always. And the first catch was on land, and they laid them and themselves by the fire, and really, roast fish with a touch of lime and wart garlic is probably one of the finest and earliest recipes on the planet. Just a gutted fish rolled in wild garlic leaves, bundled in spinach or rubbed with clay and then baked in a glowing pile of embers. Laid out on a smoldering oak wood fire. Damn, I'm getting hungry off of this, man. Laid out on a smoldering oak wood fire till smoked and yummy, and with the sting of the fish bones came needles to stitch sinew through hide, finer tattoos, first cloth, tent and sail. And sailing, or rather poling, they went more and more frequently, and boat became boat and net became net, as they purposefully bound and hollowed tree trunks and branches into ever more hull-shaped craft, and wickered and wove saplings, nettles, and long grass to catch the glistening, scaly non-leggeds that live beneath the surface of the ever-changing, living waters. We got a few more minutes. What else was there to do with the arrival of the new than to pursue fresh abilities and add them to the stock of survival skills, of postures, gestures, and sounds, of communication and decision, of expanding the realm of the primitive prime mind brain into the unknown that lies beyond today? We sucker punch the future by aiming further than the chin of time and the smile of death. forever building on ancient neuronic pathways like ants, sniffing out the strongest chemical trail through our minds to where the most fruitful actions, ripest decisions, and yielding worlds and dreams lie, stacked and stashed at the lazy lizard's disposal. The motor cortex mirroring the tricks in the tribe and making them thus a tribe, with shared habits and sound, same necklaces of fishbone and birds' heads, same blankets then tents, same wraparounds then sails, of woven grass and reeds and nettles and weeds that grew to an abundance and length no scythe or land mower would dare attack. Same thin shit from a diet of fruit, berries, nuts, and fish. Same happiness and delight in putting certain bushes on the fire green and sticking their heads in the smoke and laughing and falling and fucking and caressing and eating more berries and fruit. Wait for the fallen ones to alkalize and then feast, chewing on half-poisonous roots and flowers, sitting dazed in the hot sun, or hidden in a cave, mesmerized in kaleidoscopic light and dancing shadows, mixing colored clays and ashes and grease, painting, inscribing, carving, shaping, bringing into this world patterns and forms and exalted expressions from the world of grotesques and extremes, the dreamtime and the folly, the mad reality that is an artist's mind. Hello, everybody! Making the unknown tangible and beholden, though never quite comprehensible, since dancing on the verge of non-existence. The outer reaches of the prime space of primitive mind, where creation perpetuates itself in a Shavaic dance on the burning embers of time-space, space-time, as we still dance in a bid to let go and recreate ourselves, as we still paint to share visions, as we still sculpt to shape imagination into tangible, touchable form, as we now think, speak, and write words while they spoke sound and carved symbols, bass lines for a multitude of future languages, as still today our tongues are through travels and migrations, changing objects and objectives, ever-altering emotional extrapolations of our worlds, us, and the ways in which we perceive, entwine and mix, separate and recombine our vowels and consonants, ideas and emotional boundaries, accents and punctuations, cutting and pasting words and states of being and expressions into new shapes, new tunes, new dances, and new bass lines for a multitude of new future languages. Thank you.